Hey everybody, Bonehead for the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Blood Bowl Formations Amazon teams. So we've had a look at all the teams available in Blood Bowl 2020, whether they're from the rulebook, the Teams of Legend PDF, like the Amazon team here, or the expanded NAF teams, that's Slan and Khorne, and we've basically talked through how to set them up. Whether you're kicking or receiving, we're going to talk through the positionals, where you want them, and why. So if you're planning on running Amazons or running against Amazons soon, this video should give you some ideas on what positionals to put where and why. Okay, so Amazons are a really interesting team. They are a fantastic blend of simple and complicated at the same time. Basically, everybody here is the same. All the positionals are the same. The stats are all the same. There's a few key skills and skill access that differentiate players, but that's basically it. So every player is essentially just a lineman with an extra skill or a different slightly access. So when we're looking at our positional setup here, the only positionals we are going to bother with are the blockers, okay, the blitzers, because they start with that block and dodge. Now the entire team has dodge. Whether you're a catcher, a thrower, a lineman, or a blitzer, you get dodge. Now the blitzers starting with block and dodge means that they are very difficult to put down. So if you are counter striking with them or just putting them in danger, they've got a very good chance to survive. Now there's no fast players here, there's no strong players here, and everybody has dodge, but with edge 3+. Now, if you've ever tried to pick up the ball with a human thrower with sure hands, 3+ with a reroll is potentially the worst die roll in the game. You're dodging with 3+ with a reroll here. Dodge for Amazons is there to use if you really need to. The rest of the time, it's basically -1 to hit you. Okay, so Amazons are all about positioning. They say that Dwarves and Tomb Kings are all about positioning because of their lack of speed. Amazons are all about positioning because of the lack of everything else, okay? Movement 6 is fine, Strength 3 is fine, Armor 8+ is just fine. All they've got to rely on is that dodge. So you will need to use your, basically your numbers to protect you, and use those blitzers to really key. Now as your team develops, your blitzers here are going to end up getting guard as well. Now once they start getting guard, they become blodge guard, which means they're very difficult to punch down themselves, and they make everybody around them stronger. And that's how this team starts to come together. Those dudes are going to get guard, and everybody else is starting to get block. If you've got a thrower, that's fantastic, but that thrower isn't really going to be doing much except for throwing ever so slightly better than the rest of the team. And the catchers are pretty useful to have if you need a stretch play, but as a fundamental, they don't do a massive amount different. So as we're looking through the setups here with Amazons, you can play this out with all line women and those blitzers, because those blitzers are going to be the ones that give you the edge. So the first roster we're going to look at, the first setup we're going to look at, is the Chevron defense. Now we've covered this a ton of times because it is one of the most flexible formations in Blood Bowl. And when it comes to the Amazons, you kind of have to key into that as well. So this is useful against a team that is trying to be faster than you. If you've got 3 turns to go, you're defending against them and they need to score. They need to score. This Chevron defense is going to allow basically multiple tackle zones of defense. Okay, so if your opponent is going to try and score, they've only got 3 angles to do it with this one. So 3 line women on the line here is the best you can do. Okay, you can deploy more, but all they're going to do is completely ignore it, because if they want to score quickly, they can do. So your vulnerability is this middle channel here. Okay, they're going to have to clear out 3 line women. Now that's going to cost them potentially 5 players, and 5 players is all they're going to need because they're going to be able to block away and take on multiple 2-die blocks, but that's where your dodge comes in. Multiple 2-die blocks are okay. Alright, it's not the best thing in the world, but when you've got dodge, you are just a much better, you're just in a much better off place. Now against dwarves, just go for lunch instead, okay? It's going to be brutal. You can win with Amazons versus dwarves, but you are giving up your edge on that one, okay? So if you are facing dwarves, this Chevron defense might not be a terrible way to go, but you're going to have to put 3 people on the line. Now, there is another way of thinking about this, which is that you can put your blodges on the line. So if you're up against a team that has linemen or blockers with the lack of skills, then actually having blodgers on the line is going to benefit you. Now, I'm thinking about a team such as Orcs, okay? Their big gun blockers start with Strength 4 and no skills, which means they're going to be making 2-die skillless blocks against you. Now, everybody on the line is going to have at least 1 support, basically. So every block coming your way is going to be 2 dice. having a blodger on the line may actually keep you alive longer, but what it is going to do, and this is why I don't recommend it, is it's going to pen your key positionals in there. Now, if you look at this team, the team itself is one cohesive mess, alright? That's how they work, but you've only got 4 good players. That's it. To start with, you've only got 4 good players, and as your team develops, you're going to get some others that get block, okay, but they're not going to have that strength access. They're not going to have guard. They're not going to have that ability to really affect everything that goes on around them. So tying up your blitzers on the line, you are going to be in a better defensive position from being punched in the face, but your counter attack is therefore just going to be a bunch of linemen with essentially no combat skills there at all. So chevron defense here works with the basis that actually, if you look at the way the tackle zones intermingle on these players, you've got layer upon layer of tackle zones. So if your opponent wants to go through here, they are going to have to attack the edge on one side or the other, or clear this line out and run down the middle. Now, if they do that, they are going to have a couple of blitzers there ready to pounce. Now, movement 6 is not fantastic, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It covers this. All right, this blitzer can cover here. This blitzer is going to be able to cover all the way here as well. So what's going to happen is, unless they swoop down here, which they are likely to do if they're going to go for a fast score, tag that one, blitz in here, blitz them out, open up this channel here for a run, then potentially just go for a cheeky side cage here. That's going to be their best kind of play, and then you are going to be able to swing people down to go for a blitz. You are going to be able to get in there and potentially have a supported blitz. You are going to be able to clear out somebody and put someone on the ball carrier. Now, most of the time, that's the best you can kind of pull off. But most of the time, that is enough, because you are going to force your opponent to make die rolls. Now, setting up this defense, the only other thing you can do is drop your L there, but if you are a friend, you become a frenzy target at that point. Now, dodge is going to help, but not against frenzy, because all they're looking for is pushes, and that power is going to help you massively. So if they don't have frenzy and you do want to stop them on the edge, you can just double stack in a column formation like this. Okay, that's going to mean that there is going to be absolutely no way for them to break through your tackle zones by clearing out one player. But what that will do is that will open up the middle to be these 3 squares here, because you've got your column here, which makes it more likely that they're going to go run down the middle. Now, if they do that, because you've stacked them in a column formation, you've got 4 players who can play kind of your safety. So it's an interesting one. It depends on the type of team you're playing against, but ultimately here you are playing with a team of linemen, and 4 of them are better than the rest. So chevron is going to slow your opponent down, and you can either choose to have a weak center or a weak edge, depending on if they've got frenzy. Amazons are challenging, okay? They're frustrating to play against because all the blooming power stars mean that nobody's going down. But for you, as the player running Amazons, they are a challenge, and they're going to teach you some things about positioning, because every player positioned well should be giving you a 2-die block to somebody else, and that's what you need to survive. But if you're in a situation where you're playing against a slow team that is actively trying to murder you as quickly as possible, anchor defense all the way. Now, I like the chevron. I think it's flexible, but what it does do is it allows your players to become a load of your players to be based, and to be based in such a way that it becomes tactically bad for you. Okay, what the anchor does here is it plays on the fact that you're going to have to sacrifice your line of scrimmage. There's no way you can do that. There's no way around that until you start farming block guard pieces, and then actually you can deploy 5 on the line, interspersing those guard and forcing your opponents to basically, it's kind of like going all in on poker. Your opponent can get good blocks, but this is going to cost them more players, and it's going to become very challenging because of your guard. To start, you don't have that option. So the anchor defense, 3 line women on the line, and then you've got a choice. What they're going to do is they're going to clear out this line here. You can't stop that, but you do have dodge, and that's okay. Then they're going to have 1 blitz. Okay, they may move in here and tag. Now, the cool thing here is if you put your blitzers on the edge and they swoop out and clear, there's a likelihood that they are going to end up either disengaged from your blitzer, and blitzer's going to end up here, or they're going to follow up and it's going to give you a 2-die block. If they tag your blitzer here, you can swing it round, swing your reserve players round, and they are giving you free, probably 2-die blocks with block. Now, that's going to play into you massively. And the other element here is if your opponent is not an all-tackle team, and they're going to go for the blitz, having the blodgers on the edge, they're so hard to put down. Okay, that's going to be 2 dice. They need to roll a natural power, and nothing else is going to work unless they've got wrestle. And if they've got wrestle, you're not getting hurt anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Anchor defense here, if you're playing against a bruisey team, is going to limit the amount of offense they can bring to you, and it's going to leave this pool of resource here for you to counterattack. Okay, you can stand these guys up and just own these 4 or 5 players that they've deployed up against you. You're netting TV, you're letting TVOP at that point, you're netting active players. They can knock down one of your blitzers, but the chances are your blitzer's going to be able to stand back up, and then you can counter blitz with 2 dice probably. If they tag a blitzer this side, you can bring a linewoman round, get that extra support, and another 2 die block for you, and you should have 1 or 2 blitzers in reserve for you to start going one way or the other to apply pressure. Because if you are playing a team that is bashier than you, they are likely to be slower than you, or at least as slow. And if they overcommit to the line of scrimmage, it means their backfield is going to have less players in it. Okay, if they deploy 5-6 players on the line, that means there's only going to be 5-6 players in the backfield. So what you can start doing then is kind of coming round here and starting to screen off this forward element from their blitz and their heavy line of scrimmage, and starting to screen round the edges. What that's going to do is it's going to force them to huddle up in the middle, at which point you can strike at leisure and play elf defense, which is tricky, but actually the best way for you to do it is to attack the corners and sacrifice your linewomen who do have dodge. That dodge is going to keep them alive, and it's going to keep them in base contact, and everybody in base contact is going to be a +1 assist for you basically. Or your opponent's going to muck it up somehow, and you're going to be able to slip behind, create a screen behind their line of scrimmage, and then it's just a matter of time before they have to take a load of bad rolls to try and escape it, or you get a chance to envelop their backfield and take the ball away from them. So offense with Amazons. There's really I'm only going to suggest one offense for the Amazons, because whatever you do is going to be a variation of this, and it's really going to be depending on what kind of team you're playing against. Amazons are a medium bash, medium speed team. Okay, they are humans, but they are humans to an extreme of one idea. So you don't have any breakout player speed, you don't have any strong player speed. You have got this is literally the epitome of teamwork. Okay, every motivational teamwork poster you ever seen before is basically talking about the Amazon team. Okay, this is a socialist Blood Bowl paradise here. So stacking the guys on the line, you want to do 2 things here. You want to win the line of scrimmage, and you want to secure the ball. So if we drop 2 line women, or potentially a thrower in the backfield there, just north and south of the line of the sweet spot, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares of movement, which means that wherever the ball goes, you will be able to move 1 to protect and 1 to collect. Okay, if the ball ends up down here, you can do exactly the same. That's what you want to do. The first thing you want to do is protect that ball. And you've got 2 wings here where you get options, okay? So if the ball lands here and it's actually close and you're playing against a team that can threaten to pick up that ball, yes, I'm looking at you, Skaven, and Wood Elves, and Pro Elves, and High Elves. Fast teams. You can actually, you've got a choice. You can leave your screen in place, or you can bring them back to protect as well. And actually, if you can get 4 corners of a ball cage down here, especially with one of your blitzers on the side, it's going to be in a pretty decent spot, and you're going to be able to get 4 players to contact that ball basically wherever it goes. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, that's your limit. If the ball lands south of here, so in the back 4 squares, you're only going to be able to get 2 players into contact with it. That's probably fine, because that's way deep into the pitch. So, 1, move a dude to protect the ball. You've got the collection element later on. If you're not going to worry about collecting it, double protect it immediately. That is going to give your opponent an opportunity, but if it's so far deep, it's not a problem. I would wait and just take that collect at the end of the turn. Then you want to farm the line of scrimmage. So there's 2 choices here. Okay, you can overstack with blitzers on the line. I'm not about that. I don't think it's all that important. I kind of want to have a blitzer free to form a kind of edge of a cage ready to receive the ball, because blodgers are going to be pretty useful to score with. But what you can do here is, because you've got your 2 assists here, because you're going 5-on-3 on the line of scrimmage, because your opponent probably isn't going to deploy too heavy against you. Now they might do, and if they do, you drop these blitzers back a square and use them to attack where you want them to attack. Okay, Amazons have only got 4 stronger players, and that's just because they come with block. Against another team that has block or has lots of strength, your opponent is likely to play bash against you. Okay, have a strong front, but also reasonable depth. Amazons are not fast enough to create a breakthrough, so something like the Chevron defense is going to be useful for a heavy team, because they're just going to say, right, Amazons, you do what you want to do, you come to us, and I'm going to really try and pile on the fact that you are armor 8+. That gives you an opportunity here to take a cheeky block with block. You've already protected the ball. You can take a 2-die block without block there, and then you've got 2 blitzers on the edges there to either move down and protect, getting ready to carry the ball, or moving up with a support and taking a good 2-die block. If you can get 3 or 4 2-die blocks, you've got a good chance at actually taking out a couple of players. Even if you're only stunning them, that's fine, because that's going to reduce the amount of blocks that are coming back to you. And when you're playing Amazons, it is best to disengage as much as possible, okay, because you are vulnerable. You've got dodge, which is going to keep you in a good spot, but you don't have a lot of mobility, and you've got no chance of dodging away, really. Even though you've got dodge, that 1 in 9 failure is going to happen 1 out of 1 times. That's how it feels. So you can pile on the pressure if you've got those blitzers ready to go. Otherwise, push them back, let them blitz you once per turn. You've got dodge, you're not going down. You can then use your numbers to create really good blocks for you, really good counter blocks for you. You've got 4 blitzers, having 2 of them on the line, getting in the thick of things. 1 to play ball carrier essentially, and 1 to be your active blitzer. You can kind of move the action where you want to without overcommitting some actually pretty vulnerable players. So, that is everything for Amazons, okay? It's a pretty simple game plan, but it is really difficult to pull off. And it's going to get more complicated as your team develops. As soon as you start getting more block and more guard, you can go bash, okay? It only takes 2 or 3 players to get block before you've got a full lineup of... I mean, look at this 5-4-1-1 offense here. If all these have got block, you've got 5 blitzers, okay? A couple of guys are going to have guard, a couple of them are going to have block. You've got... This is just a block spam build. And it's a blodge spam build. So at that point, you can start fronting up to your opponent even more. That guard is going to help you get good blocks. You may sneak some mighty blow into your blitzers, and that's the point at which your team starts cooking with gas. You're going to have a reasonable amount of rerolls as well for your team, so things like sure hands are pretty low priority because you're going to be picking up the ball twice a game. You're going to be blocking twice a turn as much as possible, okay? So it's a combat-oriented team. It focuses around you knowing what you're playing against. Avoid tackle. Don't be too scared of big scary things unless they're likely to 3-die block you, because everybody's 2-die blocking you, and with dodge that's not all that bad. Just ask goblin coaches, okay? How many times have you blitzed a goblin and it's blooming push, isn't it? That's fine. Until they get tackle, until they get mighty blow, you're actually pretty safe. So play the offense, play the slow game essentially. Use every opportunity you can to make as big a blocks as you can to try and take out their players, because they don't have dodge, and really just hope you get good dice. Amazon, really interesting team, very tough team to learn, and when it comes to positioning, actually, a good coach with good positioning is unstoppable with Amazons. Just running Amazons and relying on dodge a lot is risky and can lead to utter disaster. Anyway, guys, thank you ever so much for watching. It's Lustria hot, so I'm going to go hide from the heat. Thank you very much. We'll see you again soon. Happy blocking. No, wait, happy dodging. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the show even further, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Or come and join us in our Patreon, link below, where you get early access to our content and monthly competitions. See you later.